Hi, I am responding to the music and imagery reflection. Um, so I had a really interesting experience during that. There was definitely a lot of imagery. So I'm just gonna start by going into it. Before the experience, we were assigned with making a mandala, and mine looked like this. Something that I noticed about it is very loosely put together, and there is a giant cut through it. I didn't know what any of this meant, but I went in with the intention of, I think, I had a lot of questions, but I ended up narrowing it down to I want to feel the love that I have for people and that people give to me, because it comes and goes a lot both ways, and I sometimes have a hard time grasping it and really taking it in and appreciating it for what it is. So I remember sitting down. The first thing that was really cool was laying down on the ground. I was next to a table, and I think it was the first time I've seen an underside of the table from the ground in maybe 10 years or something. And so that was really made me feel very childish in a pretty good, innocent way. But once the music started, I saw a door in kind of like a marsh, and it kind of just looked like, I was like, oh, it's just a regular door. But then I started thinking, okay, what's regular about this? And I realized it was like a door from my childhood home, which was kind of a cool thing to witness. And I remember getting into the experience, walking through the door and walking through a forest where the trees grew on top of deer. And I was like, okay, this is really cool, but what am I supposed to do here? So I started to worry that I was overcompensating by pushing a little too much creativity into the experience, and that I wasn't doing it right, and that I was making stuff up. But eventually I got over that as the music took me places. I remember the first music was really triumphant, and I remember being an eagle soaring through a castle that was a giant seashell and coming out the top. And the second door was a lot more introspective and dark, and I remember going in there and kind of digging into the ground. I was at the bottom of the sea, but I could breathe, and digging into the ground, and then I stuck my hand in my own head. That was really interesting. And then the very last door, I found myself in complete darkness. I had fallen through the floor of the sea. I found myself in complete darkness. And I remember I have this image in my head that comforts me a lot, and it's like a warm, wet rainforest cave with a waterfall in it. So I imagined myself in there and just followed the noise and began to climb rocks. And I could see slightly. I think the ground was glowing a little bit. But I ended up just really enjoying the experience of being there. And I wasn't looking for anything because I had already found it. The experience was the treasure there. I guess it feels kind of cliche to say, but I don't know, I come to a place where I'm I don't need to look for anything because it's already here, which was cool. So afterward, I ended up making another mandala. And so I'm going to show you the first one again. This is the first one again, very loose. There's a big, what I thought looked like a heart at the middle. Got veins and stuff. But I ended up making this one. The first one is called Masked. This one is Unmasked. Felt like I was wearing a mask a lot. And it kind of just traces my journey. Here's the heart of the center, the rocks I climbed up, the leaves I crawled under, the pitch blackness, the ocean floor. I'm not really sure what this is up here. I think that's, I don't know, there were organs in the ocean. I don't know. It's not really chronological, but it's something I noticed about it was a lot more tightly packed together. And kind of all of the experience was centered around the heart, rather than the heart and the experience being separate and damaged. So I thought that was a really interesting thing to take out of it. Beyond what I'm saying right now, I haven't done too much analysis of it, but I don't know. When I come to a brief recognition of what that means for me, it speaks a lot of truth and is pretty fulfilling. Just like keep the experience close to the heart, or allow yourself to feel fully in each experience instead of thinking about it too much, take you out of the experience. I'm not really sure. I don't think it needs to be analyzed. I think the most important imagery, though, was definitely at the end when I was climbing up these rocks, and they were sharp rocks and they might usually hurt, but I wasn't focused on the pain, or I acknowledged it, and it wasn't the main part of what I felt. I think that kind of was the conclusion for me, though, just that experience of, a few times during the entire experience, like not fully knowing what I was doing there in my head, but during the end, I just kept climbing and being happy with all of it. I wasn't looking for anything. I was just seeing what came up for me. Yeah, I'm just looking through some of the questions here. I feel like I answered a lot of them, but I think that music does a really good job of shaping your thoughts, and it provides a lot of context for the experiences you have, which is sometimes why I feel like walking around outside with music is not always the best. Like, don't get me wrong, I do it all the time on my walk home to and home from school, but it does provide a context for your surroundings that I believe can somewhat influence how you view stuff, view your like experiences. So I don't know if there's anything about this that I want to look more into. It's maybe just slowing down, letting go of the momentum of things, and just realizing how cool something is for how cool it is. We surround ourselves with all these interesting materials and decorations, and it's important to just appreciate them for what they are once in a while. And not only like material things, but friendships and relationships too. And yeah, so thank you. That was my experience. Sorry, I'm turning it in late.